Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Eric Murphy. This is Skeptic Generation, and we need to talk. It is February 25th, 2024. I apologize for the late start, y'all. So trying to get everything ready to go. In the past, before our hiatus, I would make a safety copy, a local recording of the audio, just to make sure that I could get a really clean version of everything for the podcast. Getting everything set up again, just with updates, right before the show, I lost all of it. I lost all of the setup and all of that, and I ran a little late getting it going. I didn't even have time to put on my jacket, but that's okay. I'm just happy to be here. So I had a couple of announcements, and just jumping in and everything has just got me going. So let's get in the groove. We've already got a caller, which is fantastic. If you want to talk to us, to me today, we do have a guest next week. But if you want to talk, please feel free to call. That's the outro. There we go. Okay. Feel free to call. It's 412-SKEPGEN. That's tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. It would be sincerely appreciated. Yeah, it's toll free. We pay for it. So give us a call. Don't mind the outro. Apologize. Okay. So let me get into announcements. Starting off, next week, we're going to have a special guest, Secular Rarity, who's been a volunteer, a mod on this channel for a long time, a friend, and somebody who's on other shows. Excited for it. We didn't do it in the past because we wanted to do in-person only episodes. But since we have left the state, it's not viable. We're now doing online stuff, just like how I did with Genetically Modified Skeptic last week. I do have an announcement for patrons. So it turns out there were some issues with the podcast. I want to apologize, and the way I'm going to apologize is it is a patron level to get an ad-free version of the podcast and an ad-free version of the live show. So for the last 2 weeks, I'm going to give that ad-free version to all levels of patron as a thank you for your patience, and I apologize. Just getting everything going has been wild, and getting all of the services set up has been funny. So thank you so much for your patience. It's sincerely appreciated. I put in the description for this video that I'm shaking it up. There's going to be some big changes for me, which is going to impact the show. So getting this show going, you guys, has been so important to me. It has such a huge impact on my well-being. I mean, just having this community is something that I deeply, deeply missed. And it made me realize that I didn't like my job. So I quit. I have done for years contract work as a video editor and as a podcast, YouTube, starting your show host, or coach, coaching hosts and all of that stuff. So I'm getting back into it, and I think it's going to be a blast. What that's going to mean for the show is after I end my job at the end of next week, I'm going to be able to dedicate more time to Skeptic Generation. I'm going to get back into making sure that we're posting regularly on social media and in the community tab on YouTube. That means that the podcast and hopefully daily clips will be going out, and all of that's really, really important to me. So I'm really excited to see it happen. And the show is still a labor of love, and I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be doing this with you. So I don't know. It's a big deal for me, and I wanted to share. That said, if you do want to be a patron, that's sincerely appreciated. I should, and I do normally, put out an ad-free version of the podcast, an ad-free version of this live show. Audio corrected. It sounds better as a podcast and, in the ad-free version of the show, because I make the audio just shine. So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/skepticgeneration. That's patreon.com/skepticgeneration, where we do that and other things, including special access to rooms in the Discord. It was very, very active, and I really, really want to see people getting active in there again. Speaking of, I've been going to our Discord to talk to everyone after the show. If you want to join us in the live show, you can see the link to the Discord in the description for this video. I would be happy to see you. On top of that, oh, we had a caller drop out. I hope that's okay. All right, so I sincerely do need callers, y'all. So one more time, 412-SKEPGEN. That's tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. And if you want the number directly, 412-753-7436. If you're calling from your cell phone or online, tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. That's going to keep us going. Dang, we had somebody who wanted to talk about Zionism being racism, and I really, really would have liked that. That would have been fun. If you were the caller, call back. I hope everything's okay. Okay. So let me make sure that I got everything. I'm quitting my job, going back to doing contract work. If anybody wants to start a podcast or a YouTube channel, doesn't know where to start, hit me up on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to help you out. Other than that, I'm doing work for other YouTube channels already, which is fantastic. Really excited about that. As for the show, I'm getting back into, as for the show, I'm getting back into doing the podcast, getting the ad-free versions of things out. And as an apology, I'm doing that. Great. Let me see. Was there anything else? I don't think so. I really, really hope that things are working out for calls, because I have completely lost the thread here. Calling back. Oh, good. Thank you. Okay, so I'm just waiting on that caller to call back. In the meantime, let me check and see what's going on. Let's see. Oh, already getting some super chats. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Sound quality live on YouTube is great. Brent, sincerely appreciate that. But getting a local recording is incredible. And I do want people who are especially listening to things, in their car on their way to work. I want it to sound great. I don't want people chasing the knob. I tend to speak very softly and then sometimes get very loud. And it can be a less pleasant experience until it's normalized, cleaned up. I take the room noise out and all of that good stuff. So it's definitely worth checking out, even if you watch it on YouTube, to check out the podcast. I'm going to be posting the last few episodes because there was an issue. They haven't been posted, and as an apology, I'm putting out the ad-free version for all patron levels. Let's see. Where's the energy drink? Dude, I haven't even had time. I've got the bottom of a thing, a glass of water. I've been trying to get this audio going all morning, and I'm just happy to be out. I'm just happy to be live. Okay. Sound fine to you? I appreciate that. I can't wait to read more of these comments. But we do need callers. Hey, y'all, if you had a philosophy question or just something even personal, now's the time. I'm willing to take it. 412-753-7436. That's 412-SKEPGEN. Or if you're calling on your computer, tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. That's tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. Hope that works out okay. Okay. In the meantime, let me see. In the process of doing SKEPGEN, I think, perfect. I will grab this call. Why not? Steve, in Ohio.
Hi.
Hello?
Hi. Sorry, didn't get a chance to give you a heads up on what I was calling about.
No worries. Honestly, you are so I had a bunch of callers and then I'm not sure what happened, but everybody dropped out. And so I'm just glad to be talking to you. You have called back
Yeah,
before. Last time we talked about your wife losing her pagan faith and fear of death. Is that right?
yeah. And a lot of the stuff that you gave me to use, along with some of the stuff people in the comments brought up, helped a lot with her come to terms with it. She's doing a lot better now with it.
Oh, good. I'm happy to hear it. Let me get your name here. All right. So, what did you want to talk about today?
Well, one, thank you again for that conversation last time. It ended up coming in handy yesterday when my kid went through a similar thought process, not with losing faith, but just they saw a video of two pets together that were best friends, and they freaked out because they had the thought that one of them was going to die before the other, and then had a whole half an hour panic attack over nothing should die.
I
So I got to
mean,
use essentially the same advice.
the funny thing is, so I don't have any kids, but I do have a history working in schools and working with kids for years. And what's really funny about them is they look to you for cues on how important a thing is. And I've definitely seen kids go, "Oh, okay," and just kind of walk away, when it's treated matter of factly, and when it's treated really, heavily. And I need to sit down. And this is really important. It can be a lot more intense. I wish that my parents would have treated death that way for me, but I'm glad you got to have that conversation. I'm glad it got to help. Did you check out the what is it, the Pig and Elephant book?
Yeah. This book is going to end. Ended up reading it a few times through. It it was fun. It was unexpected.
I'm glad. I'm really glad. So, was there anything in particular that you wanted to talk about today?
Yes, actually. So,
What's up?
and I was gonna let other people have the airwaves because it wasn't. I didn't exactly know where I needed to go with it, but so that same kid, a couple months ago, they very nervously told me that they had started going to church, and I am, if you remember, pretty atheistic at this point.
Yeah.
Um, they got very absorbed into it, and I had always shied away from trying to shove what I believe onto them. I wanted them to discover whatever they believe on their own,
Hmm.
and I wasn't sure if I was making the right choice there. Like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I went the right way about it, but there was something that I guess hurt in the way they brought it up, and I'm not sure. I want to make sure I make the right decision on how to interact with them about it, because
Yeah.
obviously I don't want to shove my own belief on them, like I said, but at the same time, if I'm noticing some harmful things that the church they're going to is saying, I what do you think? Does that make sense?
It does. It does. So, a couple of questions. I'm sorry. I'm just. I'm getting everything. While I'm hosting, I'm also live producing, and so
Yeah.
I'm setting things up. So, is this your child?
Yeah, this is my kid. When I was
And
32 now, when I was 18, I got a little taken advantage of, but that's
oh,
no fault of that kid. I'm going to make sure they have a good life, you know?
that's wonderful. How is your child? How's your kid going to church without you? Like, how's that an option for them? Like, what's the
Um,
situation there?
they, so there are a few different options for them. Most of my family is religious, and occasionally my mom will ask them to, like, I have to ask my mom to watch Aaron for me, and Aaron will ask to go to church because they like seeing the different facets of it. But 2 months ago, they got hyper depressed, and then their grandma on their mother's side took them to a, how do I describe it? They're non-denominational, but it's the type of non-denominational that is very denominational, like creationists, young Earth, everything in the Bible is true.
Yeah.
Little counterintuitive there with the way it's described, but they did a lot of love bombing, and after like 4 times of going, they were dead set on trying to get baptized. They had this whole speech written up, and I was like, you take it slow, purely just to respect the religion, and they had a breakdown about being told no.
So it sounds like your family's really working on trying to indoctrinate your kid behind your back.
Sorry, so the one that took them to that church, that would be the grandmother on their mother's side. My family is they're just like, if you want to go, cool. If not, that's fine. Or their mother's grandmother. That's the very religious one. I just want to make sure that part was clear. Sorry.
No, I sincerely appreciate it. So as a parent, I think you have absolutely the right to say, hey, is the mother also doing this too?
Yeah, she quit going to church. She doesn't really have a faith anymore either. Me and her have a pretty good relationship, but Aaron, the kid, really wants that relationship with their grandmother, and religion is very important to them. So that's how they ended up bonding with them.
Yeah. Well, shit. That is a really tough question because you're already in the situation. So if you say stop doing it, you are going to be the evil atheist. And on top of that, this is a bonding thing for grandma. So first off, I just want to say I'm just an asshole on the internet. I can give you my opinion. And my opinion here is be there for your kid, be there to answer questions and all of that. But instead of trying to jump in and put a stop to things at this point because they're already in this far and they're old enough to remember this, maybe they just need to learn. Maybe they just need to do it.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, were you a big Christian growing up?
I grew up Catholic.
Okay.
I went to a Catholic grade school and high school, and in high school, I ended up having my own little existential crisis, and I guess like sophomore, junior year, that's when I started to lose it. I started to question it.
Yeah.
It was fun. So I went through the phase, and I know you can come back out of it. And I'm not trying to be like, I don't know. I got a lot of thoughts.
Yeah. Well, I think a big piece of it is to contextualize it. If they're really, really interested in this, is this like a Southern Baptist or like a Protestant evangelical? Like what's the denomination?
For the one that they are getting absorbed into?
Yeah.
So the one, like I said, that the grandma's going to is they say they're non-denominational, but they are anti-LGBT, which that's fun for them.
Yeah.
They're very much God doesn't make mistakes. They're young Earth creationists.
That sounds like my church. True. Is this Calvary Chapel?
Oh boy. No, it is. What was it? New Life?
Yeah. Okay. So,
New Life Church.
So here's the thing. Take your child to Catholic Mass. Go to a Mormon church. Go to a Baha'i church. If they're going to be getting into this, then there are lots and lots of ways to contextualize this and go, hey, here's what a lot of people believe. I think that if they're going to learn about religion and they're at this point, the best thing that you can do is show them that there are lots of things that people believe, get them to understand the difference between, one church versus the other. Maybe at a Episcopalian church, they're going to see something different and say, "Hey, Dad, why is that? Why are they doing it this way or putting the emphasis on that?" And that might help recontextualize it as, I need to get saved or I'm going to hell, to, oh, saved means different things to different Christians. The end of life, hell, could look different to different people. I think that might help.
Okay, I'll start with that, and next time you have a low amount of callers, I'll call in and give you an update.
I really, really appreciate it. I mean, gosh, is it Lent right now, or is that next month?
I think it's next month. I don't think it started yet.
So how mean do you want to be?
I mean, I've already had some bad retorts, like when they've said, "Oh yeah, it's just like the Bible said." I'd respond back, I mean, that's just a good thing to do regardless. You can probably find that other places.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of, like, if you were to take your kid to mass, you could take them now, or you could wait till Lent next month.
Oh, I see what you're saying. That's fair.
Right? Yeah. And you know what? It could be a really fun experience. Honestly, it's been a long time since I've done the circuit of different church denominations, and it's interesting to see that stuff again. So definitely check it out. And if you do that, like, give me a call. I'd love to find out how that was, or what you thought of those other denominations. And it doesn't need to be Southern Baptist. It could be, Methodist, Episcopalian. It doesn't necessarily need to be some terrible fire and brimstone, but just different.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. Hey, Steve, thank you so much for calling. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Good luck with the rest of the show.
Thanks. All right. Take care.
Bye.
Oh, boy. I really hope that helps. Okay. So, good. I've got a caller from Hungary. Before I take them, I do want to say that after this caller, I do have room for more people. So if you want to call, here's the number one more time: 412-SKEPGEN. That's 412-753-7436. Or if you want to call online, it's usually a better connection. You can go to tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. It is absolutely free to you. We pay for it. So you don't need to worry about incurring any charges. And I'd love to talk to you. In the meantime, let's talk to Raphael in Hungary. Hey, Raphael.
Hey, Eric. How you going?
I'm doing okay. It has been a wild morning. Oh, my goodness. I wish I could show you in Call-In Studio, the app that we use for this communication. I for terminated calls, I've got like 50 calls with myself from before the show, just trying to get it all worked out. So I'm just happy things are going. But you wanted to talk about something that's totally going to get me demonetized for this episode. And you know what? Fuck it. I'll give it a try. And if it goes horribly, at least I can say that I tried, right?
I hope so. Well, I'm nervous too, so I hope I can present myself clearly. Like, I've been hearing some disturbing things lately, like social media, and a lot of people repeating things that disturb me. And there's a lot of talk about Zionism, and people have become demonizing Zionism, and it scares me, to be honest, and it worries me. I'm you could say I'm an atheist and a Jewish humanist.
Okay.
So I just feel there's a lot of hate And I feel like that anti-Zionism very quickly translates into anti-Semitism, despite what some people may say. And I feel like, I'm in a unique position where I get to see both sides of certain conflicts in the world, and with my own family history, to know the effects, to personally know the effects of those conflicts. Um, and yeah, it's something that's very, I don't know how to, I'll stop talking now and I'll let you ask questions because, yeah, I'm nervous and I don't know what to say.
That's totally understandable, and I sincerely appreciate it. So let me try and repeat some of this back to you. You were coming in really, really quietly, and I'm not sure if you're far away from the mic or what's going on. But could you, let's see, is there anything that you can do to come in a little
I'll try
louder?
to speak more directly into the microphone. I'm not sure if this is helping or not.
Uh,
I'm sorry, I don't have the best audio here.
I understand. Are you on speakerphone?
No, I'm on a headset.
Okay, so this is just hungry to the United States connection. Okay, got it.
It's probably, I've got like a 15-year-old iMac that I'm using. So
No worries. Okay.
sorry.
Oh, got it. You're talking to your laptop, so you don't have like a head earbud or something like that.
I have a headset. It's just
Oh,
obviously not a very good one.
no worries. Okay.
I don't know if, yeah, I'm trying to hold the microphone in the best possible position. So I'm sorry if I'm not doing a good job.
No worries. I just I had trouble hearing a couple of things, and I want to make sure that I got this right. So it sounds like you're saying that you are someone of Jewish descent. You live in Hungary, and you're finding that people who talk about Zionism, it's pretty consistently being used in a very racially motivated type of speech. Is that kind of what, does that sum that up, or?
Yes, yes, especially with the recent events in Israel and Palestine and the current conflict there, that I think is a tragedy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I mean, as you can hear, like English is my first language. I wasn't born here. My father was born here. I've come back here, but back when I did live in Sydney. So I used to see signs in the west of Sydney with hashtag Nazi, with the Nazi capitalised in it. And it's kind of worrisome, because like the Second World War was a long time ago, and you should know better by now regarding whether somebody's Jewish or any other ethnicity.
Absolutely. So I want to ask you a couple of questions here. So what do you see as, is there any difference to you between the nation of Israel and your Jewish heritage, or the Jewish faith?
Well, when you say the nation of Israel, I'm going to have to ask you to be more specific, because are you meaning that in like a biblical context? Are you meaning that in a modern day context? Or do you see no difference between both the biblical and the modern day context? Like there's so many factors
Sure.
to be
So
determined.
yeah, let's talk about let's talk about the.
Like I believe I have a culture and I have a heritage, so,
Mhm.
and I see myself as biracial, which causes its own problems. Um,
Yeah, I feel you on
you
that.
know,
Biracial as well.
yeah.
Um,
And this is one reason why I'm calling the show, is because I find it very relatable that way. Even though I'm white, I
I
don't see skin color in the same way as Americans do, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's dive into the call a little bit more. When I'm talking about the nation of Israel, I'm specifically referring to what exists right now, the modern day country that was created.
The state of Israel.
Okay, the state of Israel. Um, is that irrevocably linked to your faith, or the religion that you come from?
Um, just regardless of religion, as a cultural identity, I see that area as where my ancestors come from.
Okay.
And that land links me to many other Jews and related peoples around the world.
Okay.
And when I visit that land, I feel connected
Yeah.
to my other human beings, connected to people of other faiths and people of similar faiths
Yeah.
around me, and I understand how the country works. I understand. I don't have a close understanding, but I have an overview of the demographics. I have an overview of how people interact. I have an overview of how people get along every day,
Yeah.
regardless of their personal faith or ethnic identity.
Okay. I appreciate the context, and honestly, charitably, I would have assumed a lot of that about you. I definitely wouldn't, make negative assumptions, anything that I would ask, because I'd want to be as charitable with you as possible. When someone is anti-Zion, to you, does that mean that they are against the state of Israel, or to you does it mean that they are against Jews?
Well, you see, it's scary for me to discuss. I would say that my fear is that it's just another form of anti-Semitism.
I hold on. Could you say that again?
I said my fear is it's just another form of prejudice and xenophobia cloaked in concern for
Okay.
Palestine or concern for the current conflict.
Okay. So do you think that there is any way that someone can talk about, like, any bad things that the state of Israel does without it being considered racist?
Absolutely. I mean, I do.
Okay. Well,
I don't agree with everything that the state of Israel does. I have my concerns. I think that one of the things that's missing is more international cooperation and intervention, and I think that's really missing from the conflict. I think when I'm viewing such a conflict, I start looking at right and wrong, and I start looking at what systems are in place and what effects that those systems have.
Sure. So let's put this to the test here. We got really broad with that answer, so let me try and dial in a little bit more. You said that one criticism that you have of the state of Israel is that they are not cooperating with other nations as much as you want them to. Does that?
I wouldn't say that.
No. Okay. What is a
lack of international intervention? I'm looking more from an external perspective on what others should be doing, rather than necessarily what Israel should be doing. I think the political situation of Israel is kind of not somewhat opaque for the outside observer, and I don't think most people in Israel are happy with the current prime minister. As what we've seen in the US.
Okay.
Or Australia.
How about the murder of the Palestinian people, or what's your take on that?
Horrible.
Okay. So hold on.
Somebody's Palestinian or Jewish or just
Raphael.
American or Australian or life.
I got you. I'm trying to push through here. So you think that the murder of Palestinian people is horrible? I agree. Is it racist for you to say that?
No, I say that, but I'd also say that one thing that really upsets me at the moment regarding murder is that when Israel was attacked and innocent people at a festival were attacked and murdered, people turned around and became anti-Zionist as a result.
And what?
Blamed Israel.
Got it. Yeah, that sounds awful as well. I don't have the details on that, but that sounds terrible as well. One does not. Yeah, an impact on one does not necessarily reflect on the other that way. Killing innocent people is truly terrible. And what I'm getting at here is, it sounds at the beginning of your call, it sounded like you were saying that anybody who has criticisms of the state of Israel is reflecting a racist, xenophobic view. And then I asked you if you have a criticism of the state of Israel, and you did. And so I asked you, is that racist of you?
Okay, so to clarify, we were also talking about anti-Zionism, and suspicious, we'll say, a negative type of skepticism around such talk because of what I consistently see in reality, and because when I attend such events, I hear people speaking about Jews and what Jews think, or what Israeli Jews think, or what we're taught as children. I know these things is racist.
I absolutely understand, and I think that the racist people who are making bad arguments are really muddying the water and making it difficult to have legitimate conversations about the problems between, Israel and Palestine and other surrounding countries. But I wanted to set the level here, and we're really going long on just the basic.
Apologies for ranting.
No, I that's why I'm trying to cut you off and like dial in so that we can move in a direction. So Raphael, I'm trying to bring it back here. So it sounds like you're saying you understand that valid criticisms of the state of Israel can be not racist, but in your experience, you're finding that most of the people who are having those conversations are bringing it up in a racist way?
Yes, and also its context. When you're only criticizing Israel and you're not criticizing, there's more stakeholders than simply Israel. Obviously, there's Palestine as well, and there's also all the surrounding neighbors, as well as the rest of the region. Are usually somewhat involved, or
So
Hezbollah and Hamas are not restricted to one country.
Yeah. So when you have, like, let's say you and I are neighbors, we get into an argument and I kicked you in the nuts, right? And you say, to a friend, "Oh, Eric kicked me in the nuts." But to provide valid context, I really want you should also know that I stole $50 from him last week. Like, you could bring that up, but the fact is, you can just say Eric kicked me in the nuts and I'm in pain, right? It's okay.
I feel like we're talking about simile rather than direct examples, or am I missing a point?
I'm trying to use similar examples to show that you can talk about individual incidents, and that's okay. Not everything, like here in the United States, that kind of reasoning is used to shut down conversations that people don't want to have because they're uncomfortable, right? In the United States, politically, if you say X, it's not uncommon for somebody to say, "Oh, but you're not having the entire conversation. You need to bring up all of these other things." You got to start somewhere. And where I've found that I've made the most progress is where I meet them where they are. If they want to talk about this one incident, then changing the subject is only going to sound like you don't want to talk about the thing they want to talk about. And it ends the conversation before it begins. And it sucks to be in a place where you feel like the minority, and then you need to behave like the model minority, but being biracial, I'm sure you understand the same way as me, that we don't have very many choices when it comes to that. I wish that we lived in a world that we didn't have to do that, but people aren't going to listen if the first thing that you respond to is, "Oh, but this other thing." Just starting out, listen to where they are and meet them on that thing. If somebody says, "Oh, hey, there was this awful incident," listen to it. It costs you nothing to agree that it's terrible, right?
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. And then if somebody says something racist, then point out that one racist thing, but like get specific on it, because if if you get super broad that way, then what you wind up doing is shutting down conversations and sounding like you're not willing to change minds. You're just wanting to talk at people, and
Yeah.
you don't want to
I
do.
mean, to be honest, I kind of avoid the conversation with most people because, and like, I just keep scrolling a lot of the time, but at the same time, there's very limited people I can talk to this about. I mean, it's easier to talk to other people with Jewish identities about it because, you know, you can commiserate, but like, I don't want to create just an echo chamber for myself.
So it sounds like some people are having real trouble hearing you, reading in the chat.
And
I know, right?
I'm sorry, guys.
No, that's
Sorry, guys.
that's totally okay. Do you want to try? Let's see. So you're calling on Call-In Studio, right?
Correct.
Okay, and you're using an earbud or a headset?
I'm using a headset.
Try unplugging the headset. Let's try using your your laptop mic.
I'm not sure if this is going to be any better or worse. You tell me.
So it's a little bit better. I think you're speaking up, but I oh, got it. Okay. So we can't do that because there's an echo because it's picking me up. It sounds like your microphone that you're using is not the one on your headset. It sounds like you're using the laptop microphone instead of the one on your headset.
That is a possibility.
Yeah, you know what? If you want to adjust that, I can pop you in the queue and take you in about a minute. Is that okay?
I can try.
Okay.
I can't make any promises, but I'll try.
Good luck. Godspeed. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I totally understand that Raphael wants to be nuanced and very careful in addressing the conversation and saying, okay, well, when I approach a thing, you know, and trying to be very politically careful when bringing things up, but ultimately what that means is that we don't move forward. And so addressing some really, really like direct points can be tough. Now, for people who are watching you or aren't just like, why aren't you screaming at this dude? Because first off, I can't make the assumption that Raphael has the same views as, you know, other people. I need to listen. I need to find out what he thinks so that I can talk to him. When it comes to having political conversations, if the first thing you want to do is jump into the talking point that you saw on TV, then you're making a value judgment that you want to live out that fantasy instead of engaging with the actual person. And what I want to demonstrate here is that if you want to actually have a useful conversation, that is the goal, then you need to take the steps. And part of that is listening, asking the question, and then going from there. Now, I am going to take a look at some of these things because it looks like I've been getting some feedback about the quality of the show, and I want to make sure that everything's coming in okay. But in the meantime, let me throw the number up, 412-SKEPGEN. That's 412-753-7436. Or if you want to call online, it is free, tiny.cc/SKEPGEN, tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. All right. And with that said, let's see how Raphael's doing.
There you go, Eric.
Hey, any luck?
I don't have good news. Why don't I try finding a better solution and calling in next week? If that would, maybe, hopefully, I can listen back and think and come back next week.
I think that sounds good. And I will have some more pointed questions for you. I think that just with the way that it's coming across on the line, it's coming out really muddled and people are having trouble hearing. And I'm also having trouble hearing. And so What I'm afraid of happening is me not hearing you correctly and making a negative assumption or making, or whatever, and then completely missing the point of the conversation. So I really appreciate that.
Cool. Thanks very much, Eric. Have a great evening.
Hey, you too. Take care. People ask why we do this in the morning. We do this in the morning because there are a lot of European callers, a lot of European listeners who want to be a part of this conversation. And I found that if it's the afternoon US time, it is just way, way too late for those callers and listeners. So this is my best attempt at trying to find that middle ground. That said, I want to respond a bit to what I heard. And also, callers, you guys, today's the day. I think that when I was a Christian growing up, supporting Israel was contextualized very differently. We essentially saw ourselves as modern day Jews in a way that we had that we'd kind of taken over the inheritance that God had promised to the people, to the Jewish people, because we got with the program and moved on with Jesus, and that's the way it needed to go. And so part of the reason that it was supported as hard as it was because we kind of were viewing ourselves in them and trying to protect the Holy Land that we in part felt where it was ours. And so there was so much tied up in that we didn't really have a lot of room for nuanced conversation. The fact is you've got a people group who are absolutely being decimated. It's atrocious. And it has gotten messy and horrible, and I don't think that this is news to anybody. I don't think that this is somehow a hot take. But what I'm finding is that people want to shut down a conversation about it because they're viewing it as racist. And that was my concern with this call, is that our valid criticisms being shut down because they're being viewed as racist instead of just critical of the state. From what I heard, that's not the case, but I could have been hearing it wrong. But if that's not the case, then why did they call, right? Were they not viewing it as racist, or are they just interacting with a lot of racist people and that's muddying the waters? Having those conversations, I think, are really important, because in the former, Raphael might be shutting down conversations that he doesn't need to. And if it's the latter, then, categorizing it as such can allow you to continue to have nuanced conversations with actual people who want to have conversations instead of being racist shits. So it's kind of it's half, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I'm at a loss on where to go from there until Raphael calls back. That said, we are, let's see. There are a lot of people who are talking about the volume and all of that. So yeah, I hope it gets better next week. But I'm glad that my mic is coming in okay. Well, y'all, it has been an hour, and this is a slow week. Last week we had more callers than we knew what to do with. This week, not so many. So with that said, I think I might start wrapping up. I do want to thank people who gave super chats. So Miss Demeanor, thank you. And Jasmine says, can't afford much, but hope this helps. So happy to see that you're back and to catch you live. Jasmine, oh, thank you. I'll take one more. Chase.
Yeah, what's up?
Hey,
How you doing, buddy?
I am doing okay. I bumped up the volume from the last caller so loud that you are who are coming in like beautifully clear are blowing my ears out. So let me just bump that down a little bit. Can you say something again?
Yeah, why don't you bump that volume down a little bit?
Appreciate it. All right, Chase, are you still in Idaho?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. Let me put your information here. That way I can get you in the lower third. What did you want to talk about today?
Street epistemology and confidence level in Christianity being untrue.
Ooh, all right. Chase, what are your pronouns?
He, him.
All right. I have got you. Okay, so what about street epistemology?
Let's see. So I had this cool conversation with my buddy Pierce Watkins. Has a great YouTube channel about street epistemology, and he interviewed me about my claim that Christianity is, or the God of, that Christianity is not true, or the God of Christianity is not real. I think was the claim. The God of Christianity is not real.
Okay.
And my confidence level in that claim was 97%. So I was highly confident, but not fully confident. I could be more confident. But you're familiar with street epistemology, but some of the viewers might not be. So maybe we need to talk about that a little bit first.
Chase, you read my mind. Yeah.
Nice.
Let me tell you what I know. I know that there was a book that came out. It was called A Manual for Creating Atheists. It was by, what was his name?
Peter
Boghossian. That's right. Sounds like explosion. And A Manual for Creating Atheists was really like it got a lot of people's hackles up when it came out. And it turns out that Peter Boghossian was kind of a dick. Which is really, really interesting because outlined in A Manual for Creating Atheists is this idea of street epistemology, right? Epistemology we talk about a lot on this show. It's, how you know the things that you know. And so the idea of street epistemology is having casual conversations out and about with people about, what they believe and why, and whether or not they have good reasons to. And Boghossian was a lot more he was a lot more intense with the way that he interacted, but you had somebody who really, really had this incredible heart, Anthony Magnabosco, right?
Yeah, Anthony Magnabosco.
Yeah, who started recording himself going on a walking trail and just talking to people, doing that street epistemology, but doing it in a way that was approachable and empathetic and had really, really good feedback. You had people who were having conversations with Anthony who were coming out later and being like, oh my gosh, I've completely walked away from my faith because I was asked a good question that I really researched and went, hey, that was the thread that undid the sweater when you pulled it enough. And so you have this growth of street epistemologists, people who are going out and having conversations a lot like Anthony, right? I feel like the through line is that kind of empathetic approach that you have, this is my percent of how confident I am in the claim, and let's see how that confidence changes. It's a good way of asking people how confident they are in their beliefs of things. And if it's 100%, well, that gives you an indication of the kind of conversation you're going to have. And if they say 95%, it's a very different conversation. One is more likely to listen with an open mind. And so that's my take on street epistemology. What do you got?
Yeah, I think that's a good summation. Yeah, it's basically, the opposite of a debate. It's a productive way or a tool of having productive conversations in a polite way where one person is just asking questions of the other person and being from a neutral perspective pretty much, and not inserting their own opinions and stuff, but just asking questions, challenging questions to see what someone believes, why they believe it, and if those are good reasons for holding the belief.
Nice.
And yeah, there's a lot of great YouTube channels like Anthony Magnabosco is a great street epistemology channel, and my buddy Pierce Watkins. And so yeah, I find it's a great tool for, some of the questions would be, like you said, like how confident are you? what could increase your confidence? What could decrease your confidence? What is like the best alternate explanation? Like if you were wrong, what do you think is the best second explanation for this phenomenon? Whether it's a belief that gun control is good or gun control is bad, or God exists or God doesn't exist, or veganism or whatever.
Mhm. Yeah,
And yeah,
I love that.
so yeah, so I think we wrapped up like what street epistemology is. And so then if you want, we can move into my specific claim.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So yeah, again, my claim was that the God of Christianity is not real, and my confidence level was 97%. So I could have been more confident, but I was pretty confident. But I guess I'm wondering, like, do you think that that confidence level is appropriate or too high or too low? What would yours be and why? My main reasons was the amount of contradictions in the Bible,
Yeah.
and but also unscientific things, and things that go against history, but yeah, a lot of contradictions.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that I approached this in a very similar way initially. And just as an aside, Anthony Magnabosco was one of the first people that I met who was a atheist celebrity. When I started getting into all of the stuff, when I moved to Texas and went to an atheist community of Austin event, and I was the first person there. The second person was Anthony, and I just like geeked out for a while talking to him. Just the sweetest guy. Was absolutely weirded out that I was so excited to meet him. But anyway, what the position that I've come to is actually changed over time. I think that I can't give a percentage, because when I talk about the God of the Bible, like, I have an understanding of the Bible, and when I read it very, very literally. I go across, I have a deep understanding of contradictions and things that didn't happen. I also have a pretty solid understanding of the history of the land at that time. I did a lot of research for months with my friend Thomas Westbrook. I was helping him with his channel, Holy Kool-Aid, and we went for months deep into the history of the conquest of Canaan. And so, Numbers, Kings, Judges, even further back into the Exodus. I've got a really, really solid understanding of those, and so I can say, oh, my understanding of the Bible, that God absolutely does not exist. I'm highly, highly confident. I'll never say 100%, because I feel like you can't walk away from that, but that is what I have said in the past. But I've met so many Christians who have so many interesting views of Christianity. And I think that Christianity as a term is so fluid. It changes so much. In fact, even, in broad brush strokes, the way Christians view themselves has changed in the last 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. It's consistently kind of a living, it's a living people group, and it's changing with the values of the people. And so because of that, I often wait until I hear what their definition is before I give a confidence level at all.
Okay. What if we were to, and that's a good answer, I hear you. What if we were to say a biblical, like literal interpretation of the Bible that God does not exist? What would your confidence level be?
100%.
Oh, okay. So that's interesting. And what would your main reasons be?
Yeah, because if you're asking for a literal interpretation, you're using my literal interpretation. And so the way that I read it, there are just impossibilities throughout, and things that have been proven to be wrong. That we can show that what Like I'll go back to Genesis and Exodus, right? Let's start from the beginning. In Genesis, it says that there was one man and one woman. Our understanding of evolution shows that that's not the case. If you don't have that, then you don't have sin. That's where sin enters the equation, and sin is the entire reason that the New Testament was important, or at least the books that concern Jesus, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and then later Paul writing, all had to do with absolution of sin and being redeemed into heaven. Without sin, you don't have that. Without Adam and Eve, you don't have sin. And we know there was never a time where that was the case, just with the way that our biology came about. Moving forward, it just best reflects a people telling the story about themselves than it does an accurate historical account of the way things happened. What you would expect from the Exodus from Egypt, if a huge people group were to leave, they would leave expectedly stuff along the way that would show that they were there. And that's just not the case. We don't see evidence of a broad exodus out of Egypt into Canaan. We also do have historic evidence of the Jewish people actually having come from Canaan, that they were Canaanites, and that they weren't stomped out the way that it's described, with Joshua, coming through. So out the gate, all of all of the stories about God giving those commandments, because we don't have a historic evidence for that, I think that's wrong. I don't think we have biological evidence for that. I don't think that we have evidence for sin, and then just moving on and on and on. I think that point by point, my understanding of the Bible would show that, no, it's just impossible.
Okay. And if you're at 100%, does that mean that there's nothing that could increase your confidence that the God of the Bible is not real?
I'm pretty, I'm there. I'm not.
Okay. And
yeah, go ahead.
okay. And does that also mean that are you saying that you're not open-minded to any possibility of being wrong?
Oh, I'm absolutely open-minded to it. But the thing is, you would need to hit a lot of things before really even hitting the God question. You would need to answer the biology thing. You would need to show evidence of a soul. You would need to show evidence of a heaven or hell or sin or any of those things interacting. You would need to show evidence of intercessory prayer working, if that's in the equation, right? You need to show that it's possible and then determine that it's probable. And that would shake those things for me, but that's where you need
cool. That's what I was going to ask. You already answered the question, which was going to be like, what could move you down in your confidence level?
Yeah.
Even if it's a big hypothetical, hard to think about because, you've got such a strong list, I think,
Yeah.
And so, let's see, I'm kind of running street epistemology on you now.
No worries. So Chase,
and,
I have a question. I have a question for you. How important is existence? And can something exist as a concept and not as a literal physical thing?
I think so, yeah. A concept would probably just be something, a non-physical, manifestation from a physical thing, the mind-brain thing.
Okay.
I guess.
Well,
I'm not sure, though.
No, it's okay. I'm gonna take you somewhere that's gonna make you severely uncomfortable.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, we do have another caller, but I want to have fun with this for a little bit. Okay, so I'm talking about, I don't know, characters in books, right? Did Johnny Tremaine exist?
I don't know who that is, but they exist in a figurative sense, but not in a literal, like you can reach out and touch the dude or whatever.
Okay, but how about Tom Sawyer? Harry Potter?
Same, or well, unless it's, I don't know if that was based on a real story or not.
But even if it's based, the character is fiction. So You would agree that non-physical things can exist as concepts, right?
It sounds like it, yeah.
Okay. What if I define something to exist?
Define something to exist.
So I say, this cell phone that I'm holding in my hand, I'm sure there's a delay, but I'm holding a cell phone in my hand and I'm defining it as blue, about the size of my hand, and it exists. Would you say that's an
Okay.
accurate description of it?
Probably, yeah. I'll take in your word on it, yeah, because I'm not watching the stream.
Cool. Okay. So I'm going to define a God that is maximally powerful and exists.
Okay, you can do that all you want. Don't make it true.
Well, by definition, it does.
Well, by definition, definition. That don't mean nothing to me. You
Got
need to give me better evidence for it.
Well, so what I'm doing is I'm giving you a piece of what's in William Lane Craig's version of the Kalam cosmological argument. He talks about God having certain properties, and one of those properties being existence. What if I told in existence is being used as a descriptive word, right? In the same way that something is blue or so big or weighs so much, existing being an adjective. Are you following still?
Yeah, but I'm just seeing, couldn't this apply to a unicorn or something?
Yep, absolutely. Here's how you get out of it. If somebody pins you on this, here's how you get out of it. You ready?
Uh-huh.
Existence is not an adjective.
Yeah, that sounds about right, too. It just is a thing. It's more of a noun?
Actually, no.
Or a verb?
No.
Is it a verb?
It's not. People treat it like a verb, but it's not. So, how much do you know about computer programming or how video games are made? No. Okay. So when you think about existence has to be there before you can get any descriptors on it, right? It is the framework that things are put on, right? Try to describe something that doesn't exist. You can't.
Okay.
You at least need to have a concept, and then you can describe the concept. But if it is absolutely nothing, if there is no existence in any way, there's no way to put those descriptors onto it, right? If I'm describing an apple, I can describe it as green or red, sour, firm, soft, on the tree, rotten, all of these different descriptors for the apple. But if you close your eyes and you imagine just a wire frame that underneath that apple, and you imagine that it's that framework that you're able to put all of those descriptors on. That framework is existence. And because of that, it is not an adjective, it's not a verb, it's not a noun, but it is a prerequisite to all of those things. And because of that, you can never use existence as a descriptor. It's just miscategorizing the word.
Okie dokie. So how does this tie back into what we were talking about?
So it ties back in because when you're talking about whether or not you're confident that a God exists, I could say that God exists, but it exists as a concept. 100%.
Sure. Yeah, I wasn't really talking about that so much. I was talking about concretely existing in,
Yeah.
a more substantial way.
Okay. But my definition of a God, that I swear, you guys, I'm not going to stick with this for too much longer, but I'm having way too much fun. I'm putting on the hat here, Chase. So my definition of God is that God is a maximal being. That God is the most of anything you can imagine. That's how I define that God. And wouldn't you agree that existence is better than non-existence?
I find all kinds of weirdness with this line of questioning, and I don't know how to answer it.
No worries. These are all apologetics that these are all apologetics that have bounced up against. And with this, the next thing you go is, okay, well, the one that doesn't exist is a lesser one. The one that I believe in is the one that is better. And that one is one that would exist. And so by definition, a maximal being has to exist.
Okay. Well, can I ask you one last question and then let you get to another caller?
Chase, please. I feel like I'm doing just intense navel gazing at the moment. Hit me.
It's all good. I was just going back a bit. Like, I'm wondering, you had given a lot of reasons for why you are at like 100%, and you gave those same reasons. If those were to be undone for some reason, it would decrease your confidence that the God is not real, the literal God of the Bible. And I'm just wondering if those things weren't true, or rather, if they were, I don't know how to say this, but what would be the best alternate explanation? Like, what would be the explanation for how you had been wrong, if you were wrong, which I don't think you are, and it's a big if, but if you were wrong about all those things, how would that be the case?
Yeah. So almost everything that you can imagine is more likely than that God. Which is funny. I think that the God concept that I understand is one that has so many different abilities, right? Not only the ability to be everywhere all at once, to read your mind, to know your future, to know your past, and everything like that for everyone all of the time. Even a God that knew less, was slightly less powerful, is infinitely more likely, because each of those things are just insane. So if you had a God that could only create universes and then never interact and just poofed out of existence, maybe it was such a big effort that God died in the process of making the universe. I think that is way more likely, because that God does not have to have the ability to survive the instantiation of the universe, but also, all of the other attributes that we ascribe to him, right? What about a God that was interventionary, but was a dick? I think that would be way more likely, because that would explain a whole lot more about the world around us. But that would take that would take the loving part out. Really, any version of a God with just any of those pieces taken out is infinitely more likely.
I guess what I was trying to get at, like, is if we were incorrect or had been deceived, what would that look like? Would it be that and that Christianity was true?
Oh,
Would that mean that maybe somehow like demons
yeah.
got into the literature
No.
and twisted the science to deceive us all, or what?
Yeah. So that would be. One second.
We don't have to keep going.
No. I have the answer for you. It's not Kant. What is his name?
Or like, what if we, like, Rene Descartes, or what?
Thank you. Descartes' demon.
Yeah. Or how do we know that we weren't born yesterday and these are all false memories?
Yep.
And that the God is actually true,
I would say that if I was totally wrong about all of it, and all of that did exist, then I would, like, Descartes' demon, I think, would be a good place to be like, okay, well, then I don't have access to reality.
Do you want to summarize Rene Descartes' demon real quick?
Sure, and then I'm going to move on to the next call.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, so Rene Descartes, he famously said, I think, therefore I am. He was the person who said, I'm going to apply skepticism. And the reason he wanted to do this is because he wanted to prove skepticism wrong in the first place. And he wanted to show that that you can build up with certainty, because skepticism was going the other direction, right? And skepticism was essentially saying that if you ask why over and over again, you're going to get to a point where you say, I don't know. And Rene Descartes wanted to show that, no, you can build a solid foundation and you can have whys all the way down. And so he started questioning his faculties. Okay, what if I'm in a dream and my understanding of the world around me is actually just a figment of my imagination? Well, if that's the case, then I know that at least colors are real and all of that, because those concepts come from somewhere. And then he went, okay, well, what if, and just kind of going back and back and back and back and back. And finally he got to the point where he said, okay, what if I don't have any kind of connection to reality at all? That there was a demon that was confounding my senses and preventing me from understanding anything. Sight, smell, sound, all of them were just projections from this demon. I don't have any access to reality. Well, if anything, the fact that I am thinking gives me at least full confidence that I exist. Cogito ergo sum, right? I think, therefore I am. And then where he went from there is stupid, but it's a conversation for another day. The demon that he describes, is one that would confound his ability to rationally interact with the world. And I think that if you were to say, Eric, you were wrong about all of it, that miracles happen every day, then I would have to say that I'm obviously not able to interact with the world, because in everything that I've evaluated, that hasn't been the case. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'd say Descartes' demon.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I really appreciate the conversation.
Me too. Thank you, Chase. I appreciate it.
All right, see ya.
See ya. V, if they were sitting next to me, would have turned and walked away. And I don't feel bad about that at all. Okay, let's talk to Manny in Florida. Manny, you're live with Eric. How's it going?
See, Eric. See. Siempre. I put balls in V's mouth.
Well, that's nice. Let's try again. Sober in California. You're on Skeptic Generation. How's it going?
Yo, what's up?
Hey. So you're following up after a troll caller. I appreciate you calling in. So SOBER is the name, and you're calling from California. He, him pronouns, is that right?
SOB3R, but E works.
Oh, okay.
No, it's fine. I'm not on the video game right now.
Gotcha. Okay, so what do you want to talk about?
So basically, I was kind of following up with one of the earlier callers, like about the Israel conflict. It made me think about a question I had, and I was like, man, I wish I had somebody to like talk through this with. It's about like determining the truth from like the reports of current affairs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's one part of it, and then like the next part is like just hard choices that you have to make after.
So that is a really, really tough question, and definitely not one that I can answer in one call. But
Okay.
I think that media literacy is something that we all need to work on really, really bad. I think the first thing to do is look for where the other opinions are. If something is really, really important to you, then don't just look for things that agree with you. Look for things that disagree with you, and then figure out whether or not, they have a good basis.
Okay. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I definitely agree with that. Like I've been like watching these kind of skeptic shows ever since like COVID happened. I don't know,
Yeah.
like my YouTube feed was just like, hey, you like this?
We're all right.
But yeah, I'm pretty good. But let's say somebody were in a position to where they had access to, let's say sensitive information from like people who would know.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's been demonstrated to not always be the truth either. You know what I mean? Like there's even propaganda in official like information.
Got it. Okay. So can I question you about truth here?
Sure. Sure, yeah.
Do you think it's possible to actually get the truth about anything?
Like
what is
the whole truth? Probably not.
Okay, so
like probably not everything. And that's like the hard part about it, right? Because like say that you're working for some government, right? And you know that their interest is one way or another.
Yeah.
And of course the information that they provide or the intel that they receive coincides with the things that would benefit them, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
why wouldn't it? But
go ahead.
like how do you
parse that?
It's hard to determine. Yeah, how do you parse it from like because some things that you know for sure are true, and some things is like, well, shit. I don't know.
Yeah. So I think first off, contextualizing it is important. Having the right mindset is going to help. And it's definitely going to get rid of some depression and some frustration. So let me give you a really, really easy example. Okay. Okay. So imagine you're standing on the street corner of kind of a nice city, in the middle of town. There's a coffee shop on the corner. People are having coffee, outside in little tables. There are people crossing the street, and there's a car accident. Happens right in the middle of the road. Everyone sees it. If you were to interview those people are going to have different recollections of what happened. That's just how people's brains work. It happens because where there's an absence of information, our brain will create information. So if you didn't see a thing, a couple hours later, you'll be convinced that you did. We fill those things in. And so I don't think that those people would necessarily be motivated to lie, but that doesn't mean that they actually are giving an accurate account of the truth.
Okay. The funny thing is, I've heard this before, and it didn't feel like it applies. But like for some reason, when you're telling it to me now, I can make it apply.
Yeah. Well, so I'll apply it directly. You don't even need to be motivated to put spin on things.
Right. Exactly.
It's not just governments; it's people. And when we understand that everyone is looking through things through the filter of their brain, their mind, their lived experience, then you need to, at a certain point, you kind of give up on the idea of having some absolute truth. Instead, we understand that everything is colored by the people who are telling us the stories. And if we recognize that, then that'll help you be a little more skeptical and not go, I know that this one thing is true, but you can have a high degree of confidence that it's true. Right? Or that it's likely closer to, being accurately described. And so when I say,
like a clown.
Why?
No, not just internally, because like I've worked with people that were like flat earthers before, and like I've used this same kind of like talking points with them to get them to like kind of like understand. And it's just like I don't know.
Oh, dude,
I guess.
No. The killer thing is when we talk about epistemology, right? Based, from the last call, how you know what you know, you need to reapply that over and over and over and over again, because we don't naturally just apply it in every part of our lives. When it comes to us being able to figure out what's true in the news, looking up different accounts and finding all of those different viewpoints and all of that will help give you a more well-rounded understanding of a thing. And for those people who are absolutely screaming, from the tops of the buildings, it'll help you contextualize and understand, okay, this person is motivated by this person is motivated by that, and you can go from there. Everything is shades of gray. And so if you're living in a world where you're sad that you don't have that black and white, the best that you're going to get is gray. It's always going to be that way. It's okay.
So it's either stay sad or get over it, huh?
Yeah, that's essentially it. I mean, that's like, that's kind of what I did with death, honestly. It stay sad or get over it. I like that. That is a much more concise way of putting it.
I get that.
Yeah.
For me, death was like an easy thing. Like that was.
Was it?
Like, that's just me. Bruh, so easy.
Damn, I'm so jealous. Oh my gosh! See, we're all built differently. We're all built differently.
Right. Well, thanks for answering my question. I don't know if you have time to get to the other part or whatever, but.
Why not? I've got one more caller, and I can go on for a half hour. What's up?
Okay. So let's so my brother is in the military, right?
Okay.
And like he's not a Republican or nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not a conservative. I'm honestly pretty fucking leftist. You know what I mean? Like,
okay. But
Yeah, there's always a but, right?
Yeah.
Like he's been in for a while, and he knows like at this point he kind of like doesn't agree with some of the shit that's going on,
Okay.
but he knows like to just leave right now. First off, it's the contract. You can't just leave, right? Most of the time, like there's ways, but most of the times you can't just leave. And then he's also got like he's got a family to take care of and all this other stuff. And it's like I can understand, I can empathize with the struggle of like between making a decision that you think that's a right decision, but it's also not going to stop anything. Like, so say he does get out, like it doesn't change shit. Like not for the people in Palestine or any other place that we're occupying right now.
Yeah.
Like unless you can also somehow influence that change throughout, like on a wider scale, some kind of way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I do, but I think that the way you're approaching it is, I'm going to do it again.
yeah, that's fine. Do it. Do whatever you got to do.
Okay. So I understand the want to view it through that perspective, but it's not being compassionate to yourself. And it's not, your brother's not being very compassionate to himself either. He never had that ability.
Mm.
And so treating it as, well, I don't have that ability kind of infers that, but I should,
Yeah.
So, I think that some self-compassion is important, and understanding, you understand why your brother's in the situation that he's in. And because of that, you're not judging him a bad person. But
right.
in his capacity, he could be doing really bad things, and that's just the shades of gray that we live in. It's the exact same conversation that I've had about ACAB. Exactly.
Yeah. There's a lot of parallel with that in this. Yeah.
It is. I think you can be the sweetest person, but when you're putting on the shield, I think that you're the job is bastard by profession.
No, yeah, 100%, 1,000% agree with that. Like,
right, and so
I know good people that are, you know what I mean, like good people generally.
Absolutely.
But you're never going to be a good cop in my eyes.
No, because I don't think there are, like, that's the profession itself is made.
The institution itself, yeah,
exactly.
Right.
And I think I think that's also true. But giving yourself the room to be compassionate and go, hey, you know what? This is the situation you're in. This is why you're in, and I understand it. You never had the ability to change the world. You never had the ability to make those overarching issues. You're part of a system that institutionally has created, this place where you're frustrated about things in the world that you'll never actually have the ability to change.
Yeah. No, I get that.
What it means is maybe your brother can be proud of the good things that he did. Maybe he made some people's lives better, and that can be worth it, and that can be enough. Maybe.
Oh, he definitely. I mean, he has. He saved people's lives.
That's amazing.
Hands, you know what I mean?
But then that can be enough. And even if none of that ever happened, the fact that he's supporting his family and the people that he loves and is coming home to them can be enough.
Yeah. So that's what I tried to tell him, but he was just like, yeah, that just sounds like some fairy tale, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, look at the bright side shit.
Dude, all of it is fairy tales. We live in a world that doesn't have intrinsic meaning. If all of it is meaningless, then we get to create the meaning for ourselves. And if that's the meaning that he's creating, then either he's going to make it for himself that he's going to fail no matter what because he can't control the world, or he's going to go, hey, you know what? My goal is to leave wherever I am a better place than I found it, even a little bit. That kind of success is fantastic because it's in his power. And that's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully that helps him, man. Like, honestly, because I mean, we talk a lot.
Yeah.
I'm prior service too, so like I get a lot of what he's like talking about. So yeah, man, appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, absolutely. Thank you for calling in.
No problem.
Take care. All right. If you have strong opinions about what was just said, call next week. I'm here for it. In the meantime, Will is our last caller for the day. Will in Tennessee. You're live on Skeptic Generation. How's it going?
My dude.
What's up?
How are you? I was like fascinated when the other call you said that you were navel gazing. I just love those type of topics.
I know, me
Also-
too. Some people, V hates it.
I know.
Okay.
Also, you have not said, since you've been back, that I can tell, you have not said the words, "That's my Jimmy Jams." I'm kind of sad about it.
So getting into navel gazing is absolutely my jammy jams. Absolutely. I I forgot about that. Okay, so what did you want to talk about?
I just want to know, like, if there's any sort of easily digestible media that explains, like, the teleological argument and the ontological argument. Because I've tried to YouTube it, and it's all been just dense material that I don't understand.
Yeah. Okay. So I can give you some basics here.
Okay.
Okay. So from what I understand, the teleological and ontological argument both came from St. Thomas Aquinas, or he's the one who put it in a way in his ways that really kind of took off. So let me start with the teleological argument. It's been so long, I want to make sure I get it right. So I believe the teleological argument, that's the watchmaker argument, right?
You can say that again, sorry.
No worries. The teleological, that's the watchmaker argument, correct?
I believe so. Honestly, I don't fully know.
Okay. So the teleological argument essentially says we live in a world that looks like it was created, therefore it's more likely that it was created than it wasn't.
Okay.
I believe that's it. If I'm wrong, please in the comments tell me. But I'm going to go into the watchmaker argument just in case that's correct. So the watchmaker argument is puts you in a scenario that says, you're walking down a beach, you see in the sand there's a watch, you pick it up and you intuitively understand that the watch was made, that the watch didn't just come there naturally, even though you don't have evidence of that watch having been made. In the same way that we live in a world that is fine-tuned for the existence of life, and that fine-tuning is evidence of a creator that fine-tuned it that way we could. And so they bring up things like, oh, if gravity was any different, if we were this much further away from ourselves in the orbit of the sun or whatever, is that the kind of is that ringing any bells for you?
Yes, I am familiar with the watchmaker argument. I didn't know that that's what the teleological argument was, hence my not understanding.
No worries.
Which is which.
Fine tuning. So that's essentially that the response, the funniest one that I ever read and easiest to understand one was written by Terry Pratchett. No. It wasn't Terry Pratchett. It was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I believe.
Oh, Douglas Adams.
I think it was Douglas Adams. Have you heard the pond story?
Yeah, like this pond is made for me.
Yeah, this pond awakens one day and looks and goes, oh, this hole that I'm in is exactly the shape of me, which absolutely shows that I'm here on purpose and it's perfect. And as the sun rises and the puddle starts to evaporate, it sees that in every step along the way, it is perfectly sized to exactly where it's at. Because of that is evidence that, it's there purposefully in some way, all the way until it evaporates, completely convinced that it was all part of some greater plan. The fact is, we have a sample size of 1 when it comes to life on a planet, really. Mm-hmm. And because of that, we don't have a way to determine how likely life is. It could be incredibly likely, and it could potentially happen a ton of different ways. And so the idea that, it is just way, it is impossible, the odds are impossible that it could be, random or chance, I think is just, it's not understanding that we have that sample size of 1. A couple things that have you heard of the Texas sharpshooter fallacy?
The what fallacy?
The Texas sharpshooter fallacy?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so I'll give you one more, and then we'll go on to the other piece that you want to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Texas sharpshooter fallacy is that just imagine you're driving through the country and you see, you're seeing barns and all of that, right? There's tons and tons of fields, and you're driving and you see a barn that is just covered in bullseyes. And you're like, what the hell is going on? You kind of drive up a little closer and you see that right in the center of the bullseye is an arrow on every single bullseye that's all over this polka dotted barn. And you're like, holy crap, this marksman, like what the, I need to know more about this. So you knock on the door and you say, hey, how did you do this? How did you get these perfect bullseyes on every single one? And they go, oh, I can show you, no problem. So they walk out, they knock an arrow, they fire it at the barn. And then they go into the barn and they get a can of paint and they draw the bullseye around the arrow. And the idea there is that you're working your way back from something that you're sure of. It's
Wow. Yeah.
right. I think that applies here as well. That you're looking at the fact that we're alive and are assuming that it's perfectly impossible any other way, and you just don't have any evidence of that. Okay.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then the ontological argument.
Yes.
The ontological argument, I believe, is the one that says that God is necessary for all things to exist, right? That I believe it's the first mover argument, I think, or it's there. So everything has a cause, and if you go back through causation, there has to have been a first mover. There has to have been a first cause.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is all being digested now.
So the way I think about ontological is ontology is the study of what exists. And you're basically saying that God is necessary for existence. So,
Gotcha.
So that's where I go from there. I don't know if you want me to go into the details on that one, but there are so many different places where it breaks down. There's an assumption that all things have to have had a cause. There's an assumption that anything works the way that we think it is, the way that we think it does. If all matter in the universe is condensed into a tiny speck, that anything we understand would make any sense. It's just built on assumptions on assumptions on assumptions, and while it would be nice and feel good to use that causal link to go backwards, I don't think we're justified in doing that because we don't have that understanding. I mean, all you need to do is come up with any other potential reason for a universe having been created at all.
Right.
I think Matt Dillahunty came up with, what about universe farting pixies?
Yeah.
Was
or
it
the teacup.
So Russell's teapot is a little bit different, but
Gotcha.
I get where you're going with it. The idea is that in that case, the universe farting pixie would be the God that they're describing. Yeah, it makes them uncomfortable because they have this assumption of what that God is. But the fact is that you're getting really, really deistic at that point. And really, ultimately, when it comes to all of those really big arguments, none of them are arguments for the existence of a biblical God, only of a creator God.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so.
Amazing. That has made everything digestible for me, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, I was corrected. Sorry. Ontological argument. By definition, God is a being which none greater can be imagined. That's the ontological argument.
Oh.
I got that wrong. Okay. Sorry. Eric Ketzer, thank you for correcting me. A being that necessarily exists in reality is greater than a being that does not necessarily exist. It's something that I was talking about with our street epistemology caller. Okay, so honestly, Richard Dawkins gave me the best version of it.
Gotcha.
he's the one who said, okay, imagine a maximally great burrito, or a maximally spicy burrito, a maximally smelly thing. When you're talking about concepts of maximally, they're not necessarily, it falls apart as soon as it leaves the tiny sphere that it's in. And it's weird mind games that try to define a god into existence. If somebody wants to talk about a maximal god, talk about a maximal burrito.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Anyway, Will, thank you for this. I really needed this.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to say Jimmy Jams.
I won't forget. Thank you for sticking through this episode. It's been a weird one.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you. Oh, I got one more. Okay, quickly. Chris. In the UK.
Hello there.
Hello. I know I said I was only going to take one more caller, but you wanted to know what my thought was on Judaism, Christianity, and the Muslim faith. Help me out here.
Okay. So often I speak to people from all three religions who, to me it seems like the Abrahamic God of both the Torah, the Bible, and the Quran, they all seem like one God. However, I repeatedly run into people who insist that it's separate gods. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on it.
My thoughts are, it doesn't matter. My opinion does not matter. So if you're talking to somebody and want to have a useful conversation, ask them.
Yeah.
I don't believe it anyway. It's not my mythology. So why am I trying to gatekeep? They're all
I don't believe in it.
But essentially, if somebody says that they think that if they're non-Trinitarian, they say, oh, well, the Father, Son, Holy Ghost, those are all separate things. Or they go, oh, well, the God of Abraham and Isaac in Torah is different from the God that's described in the Quran. Then that's the opinion of the person you're talking to. You really need to make a decision whether or not you want to interact with them or not. And if you want to interact with them, meet them where they are. Meet them where they're at.
Fair enough. It's good to talk to you again. I called quite a few times in the past, and I'm glad to hear from you all again. And it's good to know the show's back on the air.
I'm happy to be back, and I do recognize your voice, and I'm glad that you called back. I'm glad you stuck around, and I'm really, really excited. I don't know if you were here at the beginning of the episode, but I quit my job. I'm diving into just making content and creating stuff with other YouTubers and just enjoying life a little bit more, and I'm excited for what that brings. So this is definitely, you're going to see more of me.
That's amazing. I hadn't heard that, but that's really good.
Yeah, well, I'm lucky enough to have a partner who's helping support me in the meantime, because it's a big leap, but I'm doing it.
Awesome. How is V? Are they doing okay these days?
They're doing great. Oh my gosh.
Awesome.
Yeah, so they had a really positive surgery recently. That was a gender confirmation surgery that you can look them up on Instagram if you want to see posts about that. But
awesome.
Everything went well, and we're really, really excited about that. They are on a board of directors for a nonprofit. They are advising with a company. They are working with a publishing company. They are so freaking busy. And
that is amazing.
I know. And they're in so many places at once. When I wanted to start SKEPGEN up again, they're like, Eric, I don't have time. And I totally understand it. I want to be as productive as V's been. But yeah, they're doing great.
That's great. And yeah, I hope that you have a good day, and I hope that I hope the show's back on air for a long time.
Me too. Christopher, thank you for calling in. I appreciate you. This was a nice
You're very welcome.
Have a good one.
You too, pal.
Bye. What a sweetheart. Of course, that's what I want to do. That's fantastic. Alrighty, y'all. So I've got a lot of work to do today. I am going to be making sure that the back podcast episodes go out. And again, as an apology, I'm going to be making it the free version accessible to every level of patron and Patreon as an apology for that. And we're going to be going from there. I am going to hop into the SKEPGEN Discord to do an after show, talk to people, hang out a little bit before ending the day. But I hope the rest of you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for joining me. I've been Eric Murphy, and I'm glad we had this talk.